At age 74, André Rieu's health finally gave out on him. He had to cancel several much-anticipated shows in Mexico City, which broke the hearts of his fans. Because of this sudden change in his touring plans, Rieu's son has stepped up to run the huge business he has spent decades building. It's hard to believe that the man who used to perform an amazing 100 shows a year and own an amazing 80 properties might need to think about retiring, especially since he always said he would keep acting until he was 140 years old. His last show in Maastricht, the place where he started his music career, hurts a lot. It feels like a sad goodbye to both his fans and his amazing success. Rieu was born in 1949 in the Dutch town of Maastricht. He grew up in a home that was full of music but not very warm. As the strict director of the Maastricht Symphony Orchestra, his father put discipline above all else, and the love and support that you'd expect from a caring family often took a back seat. Rieu's hard childhood shaped his unwavering work ethic and love for music, for making him the charismatic entertainer he is now. Even though an era is ending, his music and legacy will continue to inspire artists and fans all over the world. They had 6 kids, and André was the third. His family was more like a strict military camp than a warm house. As a child, I didn't get much love or support. As strict Roman Catholics, his parents only cared about following the rules and keeping things quiet. Friends were not allowed to come over, and there wasn't much laughing. He was sure that André's parents did love him very much when he said that. At a young age, his naturally excited personality didn't go well with how distant his parents were. His mom cared so much about getting good grades and practicing music that she didn't like it when teachers called him an artist. André felt like he wasn't seen unless he did everything correctly. He went to therapy for years to try to figure out why his childhood felt so empty. He may have changed the way people think about classical music because he felt empty. Something strange happened to him when he was 5. His piano teacher made him fall in love. She was 18 years old, blonde, and pretty. He had a hard time paying attention in class because she kept drawing his attention away. But she pushed him to work out every day. Scales didn't bother him, ways or methods. She made him want to play like her. He watched how she moved her hands and how she brought music to life. While others were still having trouble, André was already good at picking out the emotional undertones in music within weeks. That was important to him, feeling, not beauty. As he grew older, his relationship with his dad got even tenser. André wasn't interested in playing the serious, rigid classical songs. He wished to make music exciting and fun. That wasn't nice to do to his dad. His dad told him, "I didn't raise you to play waltzes," when André said he wanted to play them. That hit hard. When André brought Marjorie into his family as his future wife, things got worse. His mom didn't greet Marjorie with a hug. Instead, she told André to clean up his room like he was a child. That was the last blow. She was his, and he left with her. Don't ever look back. After that, even when he played in big places around the world, his parents never showed up to any of his shows. André's dad never got to see what he had done after he died in 1992. But even though he was being turned down, André was making a plan. He saw something strange while playing in his dad's orchestra. They didn't seem to care about the music, for the most part. Instead, they talked about the weather. They were upset about their pay. It had no life. Then, during the repeat, something magical took place. They were going to play a Strauss waltz. All of a sudden, the crowd came to life. People laughed and smiled. They made a hum. The power changed. He knew then that he wanted to play this kind of music, not to please reviewers, but to make people feel something. He played a soft song for a woman who was dying one day, who hadn't looked at the sun in days. But when the music started, she opened them. At that point, André knew what music was really about. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about how you felt. That's when the thought of making his own group began to grow. André began small in 1978 when he was 29 years old, had a new baby at home, and didn't have much money to spend. He got together a small group of players to form the Maastricht Salon Orchestra. Anywhere they could, they played. Events like weddings, town buildings, and border towns between Germany and Belgium. Most people had forgotten about the waltzes and cabaret music they played. It wasn't exciting, it wasn't making much money, but André didn't mind. It was something he loved to do. There was one night when he played the Gold and Silver Waltz by Franz Lehás at a small show. He put all of his heart into it, and he could feel something change. It seemed like the music was talking to him. He decided that night that this was his life. It didn't bother him if people said it was corny. It didn't bother him if the rich and powerful laughed. Classical music could make him happy, and he wasn't going to stop until everyone else did too. In 1987, André Rieu reached a new point in his life. He was almost 40 and was in charge of the Maastricht Salon Orchestra for almost 10 years. But something didn't feel right. There was no longer any thrill. The limits were easy to see. It was no longer enough to use the old structure. It was bigger what he wanted. He wanted to do more than just play music. He wished to make magic happen. Johann Strauss used to play the violin and lead at the same time, moving his whole body to the music. This made people happy and amazed. That life force, that fun, that feeling of being living. It wasn't easy for Rieu to decide whether to bring it back. When I started something new, I was taking a huge chance. It cost a lot of money to hire skilled musicians, and he wasn't wealthy. There was more financial stress on him for each performer he hired. It was hard to get bookings, and classical music wasn't known for taking chances. He knew he had to try, though. The Johann Strauss Orchestra, which he had just made, played its first show on January 1, 1988. A small group of 12 artists and a few people were there, but something felt off. Rieu did not follow the rules. It's not like him to dress the musicians in black. He didn't make the stage quiet and proper. He brought humor, folk music, dramatic lighting, and a sense of the theater. Some people didn't like it. They said it was silly and cheap, but the people in the crowd smiled, clapped, and took part. Rieu wasn't going to let go of the spark he had found. Then something happened that made everything different. It was May 1995, and the Champions League final was going on in Vienna. When the first half was over, something strange happened between Ajax and Bayern Munich. Rieu and his orchestra came out on stage and played Shostakovich's Second Dance. Someone in the Netherlands had heard the song in a TV ad, but no one was ready for what happened next. All 50,000 football fans in the stadium started to move and get lost in the music. No one had ever seen anything like it before. Live video feeds of the event reached 300 million people in Europe. It wasn't just a halftime show. It sent shockwaves through society. After that, Rieu sold 200,000 CDs in a few weeks. The record Strauss & Company, which came out the previous year, went viral all of a sudden. The Dutch album charts saw it stay at the top for 19 weeks, making it the best-selling album of the whole decade. It was his records, his shows, and waltzes that made people who had never liked classical music fall in love. But people who study music still say that football game was the time when André Rieu became more than just a violinist. His fame spread, but not everyone was happy about it. Artists came back from the world of classical music. Rieu didn't give up, though. He thought that everyone should be able to enjoy music, not just professionals in concert rooms. Kids, parents, teachers, cleaners, everyone he could think of should be able to enjoy the same music that used to be kept secret by strict rules. It was hard to hide the truth. A lot of people loved him. A lot of people went to his shows, danced in the aisles, and bought a lot of albums. Strauss and his band had already made a lot of noise in 1994, but that show in 1995 really set the bar. It sold 150,000 copies in just a few months in the Netherlands. It went straight into the top 5 in Germany, which is very rare for classical music in that country. It sold more than 3 million copies around the world by the time it reached its peak. In major European markets, it sold more than Celine Dion, Bon Jovi, and other big pop stars. Due to his work, even big record shops began to stock more classical music. People who work in the field called it the Rieu effect. Universal Music said that more money was made from his albums than from those of any other classical act. He changed more than just music, he changed the business as well. It all started with that one dangerous choice he made in 1987, naming his band after Johann Strauss. People thought he was being cocky. He showed them they were wrong over time. He didn't take Strauss's job. He woke him up. Strauss's waltzes were becoming less popular in the 1980s. They were not played by many people. Strauss's music had been played 16 times more often by 2010, mostly because of Rieu. His orchestra had grown from 12 players to more than 60 by the end, even bigger than Strauss's own band. To honor Strauss's 100th birthday in 1999, Rieu put out a tribute record and talked about how much he admired him. He was even given one of Austria's greatest awards by the government for preserving the country's musical history. Rieu did more than just play classical music. He made it famous all over the world. He did something in 2008 that no one thought a fiddler would do. He made a huge copy of Schönbrunn Palace in Vienna and toured with it. This is a real house that he took with him all over the world. It was more than just a background. It had real fountains, ice rinks, chandeliers, and even Prague horse-drawn cars. The Rolling Stones had never built anything bigger. It wasn't just for show either. It was Rieu's dream to bring the magic of Vienna to everyone who could never get the money to go there. The planning was crazy. It took 100 people 6 days to build the stage each time he did it, but it was worth it. In Europe and Australia, arenas were packed with people. The Telstra Dome in Melbourne was packed with 38,605 people who came to see him play, making it Australia's largest classical concert ever. Nearly 90,000 people came to all 3 of his shows in that city. Back in Europe, he was also selling out stadiums very quickly. In Australia, at one point, 8 of the top 10 spots on the charts were taken by his DVDs. Pink and AC/DC were the only ones who got in. This run wasn't just a lucky one. So many people loved Rieu's shows that he made it into the top 10 list of the world's highest-grossing tours, performing with Madonna, The Cops, and other big names. That's pretty cool for someone who is known as the King of the Waltz. Plus, the sales of his albums and DVDs earned him over 500 silver awards, which is more than any other classical artist has ever done. Universal Music gave him a handmade chrome violin trophy as a gift to celebrate this achievement, saying that his level of success had never been seen before in the music business. Still, not everything was great. Things went wrong on what was supposed to be a fun Christmas show in the UK in 2016. Ruud Merckx, Rieu's longtime trombonist, had a sudden heart attack while he was sleeping while the orchestra was in Leeds. For more than 20 years he had been in Rieu's group. His wife was with him. She played in the orchestra too. 2 kids were ready for them at home. It was a big deal for the group. Rieu moved quickly and canceled the show in Nottingham that night. Soon after, he also canceled the rest of the UK tour. The shows in London, Birmingham, Manchester, and Glasgow were taken off the schedule. Rieu said that his group was like a family. He really meant it. A lot of them had been with him for more than 25 years, and it was terrible to lose one of their own right before Christmas. He was taken back to the Netherlands, but he died there 5 days later. When Rieu finally got back to the UK in March, there was a clear change. The magic stayed the same, but fewer people came to see it. People remembered what happened in December, and he did too. André Rieu had spent decades making music that captivated people all over the world. But when he went back to Mexico City in March 2024, it was almost too much for him. At 74 years old, he kept touring the world like he was half his age until his body suddenly gave out. André passed out after only 2 shows because of the harsh effects of jet lag, being at a high altitude and having the flu. He was pushed to his limits by the fact that Mexico City is over 2,000 meters above sea level. Even the musicians in his group had a hard time. They got nosebleeds and it was harder for André. He had a fever and was dizzy. He said he felt like he was 100 years old. That night, backstage, he called his wife and said something he had never said before. "I don't want another first concert day like this." It was the first time the artist, who thought he could do anything, admitted that he might need to slow down. The shows had to be called off. Over 40,000 people were let down, and the man who always took pride in never missing a show had to go home. This wasn't just a short-term warning. André had been sick for a long time. In 2010, he lost his balance because of a virus in his inner ear. This interrupted his trip and took months to heal. In 2019, he even acted while having a high fever without telling anyone. But maybe, probably, never again. Pierre was no longer just a business boss. Now it was his job to keep his dad safe. He had slowly taken the load off André's shoulders over the years by taking care of the crew, planning, and making sure everything ran smoothly. André used to want to be in charge of everything.